Oh, okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, the meeting will come back to order. We'll proceed next with COA 0124 2022 900 Hillsborough Street. Is there any member of the committee with an interest in the matter or otherwise feel that they cannot be impartial or fair in hearing this case?
Yes. I am actually under contract with the architect on the design of this renovation, so
I presume you'd like to recuse
I
yourself.
would like to recuse myself. To be
All right.
a good boy.
Do we need a motion on the recusal, or is just
Technically, probably a motion that Mr. Kafsing be excused from voting would be the right way to handle it.
okay?
That's procedural perspective.
Make a motion to recuse Curtis Casevang from the hearing of this application.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis. You get to leave early.
I'm going to sit over.
Oh, okay. Well, that does make sense. Yes. All right. All right. Whoever will be presenting testimony and other evidence, please come forward, introduce yourself, and state your address.
I want to hand these to you. Julie Peavy, I'm on the design team for CJMW Architects.
I'm Dwayne Boovy. I'm project architect, CJMW.
All right. Will both of you be the only ones presenting during the application?
Yes.
Okay. All right, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
Thank you. All right. And next we'll call. Is there an attorney present for St. Mary's?
That's what I want.
Okay. Just for to ensure there's no legal problems, if you please come up and identify yourself. Our board attorney can explain the reasoning for that if he feels that's necessary.
Stephen Lader with Robbins, May, and Rich, Pinehurst, North Carolina.
Chair, just I'd be glad to explain. There are some bar formal opinions, state bar formal opinions concerning unauthorized practice of law, and for an entity other than an individual appearing on their own behalf, there needs to be an attorney of record representing, in this case, the applicant. So we just wanted to get that into the record.
All right. And now that that is taken care of, I'll recognize staff for their presentation.
All right, everyone. Last but not least, we have case 124, 2022, for 900 Hillsborough Street. This is the Eliza Battle Pittman Auditorium, Raleigh Historic Landmark. So you can see the whole property here is outlined in red. The auditorium is this particular building that is circled here. And the nature of the request is to construct additions, change window opening to door opening on east facade, change window openings to door openings on north facade, infill window openings on north facade, replace glazing, replace knee wall and steps on east facade. And I'll take you on a little walk around the building here. This is a view of the front and west facades as you walk from the main campus drive towards the building. This is a view of the front facade that faces Hillsborough Street. A view a little farther back of that same facade. This is looking towards the east. You can see that this is the area of the proposed addition. There are two buildings that have been constructed after the landmark building. This is a view of the southeast corner. The east facade, it is a very large building, so there are many photos here. Another of the east stairs that are to be replaced. That final east facade, the northeast corner, and the rear facade. It is a little difficult to get a view of the existing rear facade due to the very tall shrubs that surround it. and a view of the west facade. Staff concerns were that elevation and facade details were not provided for the east facade of the proposed east addition, but I believe that the applicants have just handed that out to you. And some material details that are typically included in conditions were not provided.
All right, this time I'll recognize the applicant for their presentation.
Thank you. Just a little background into this. St. Mary's School had approached our design firm with ways to improve a building. This Pittman Auditorium is a pivotal daily use building for the school. It's an auditorium, sort of a town hall, classroom. Some of the things that lacked, if you look at the existing photos, is ADA access. It doesn't have a sprinkler system, fire alarm. It has one small bathroom that's not compliant in the rear stage, so it doesn't even have public restrooms. For a theater, it didn't have dressing rooms. Mechanical systems was no longer very well functioning, so it had some things that needed repair. After thorough study, if you look at the small footprint of the building, fitting in required restrooms, mechanical rooms, some things of that nature, dressing rooms, side stages, really wouldn't fit within the boundaries of the existing building to keep it a functioning use. Can I go through? Yeah, these are newer ones, the east facade. I might just kind of skip because you've got yours. They just put them. Oh, sorry. Trying to get to the floor plans. Anyway, just looking at the plans, the proposed addition, what we call the rear addition, adds additional dressing rooms. What we're trying to utilize is existing window openings enlarged to create door passageways to the addition for dressing rooms, restrooms for the performers, and side stage wings. The large addition, not give me the side. The east addition, we're proposing sort of a glass attachment, and there's a lot of details in there to give a separation between the buildings. The nature of the site, is fortunate in that the hill allows us to have a two-story addition, which leaves the addition still lower than Pittman itself from the St. Mary's Street. Well, we thought that glass connection is a nice separator between the old and the new. That east addition on the lower level has a large mechanical room that'll now serve Pittman, sprinkler riser rooms, electrical rooms that'll serve Pittman as well as the addition. It also provides offices for the theater, the performing arts department, some storage facilities. The upper level is some, again, teaching spaces, teaching performance spaces, and also the glass addition provides a functional lobby that becomes the ADA access to the building without having to alter the front of historic building with ramps. So we have the new lobby addition will allow ADA access through that route versus the main entry. It's still, that would become the main lobby, though, of the theater. The existing lobby is relatively small for its use. I think I was trying to look, but I'm trying to figure out the order. You want to start from? Okay, can I turn it over to the rest of my design team here to discuss any other options?
The images she's been scrolling through are the new stuff that was requested from the previous commentary for materials details and an elevation that inadvertently got left out of our original submittal. She was trying to access the original floor plans and plans we sent in case there were any commentaries on those.
Is that in the beginning? Is that, if we keep scrolling, is that at the end of this?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, I mean, most of us have it,
Okay.
just for what it's worth. But
That's fine.
I can't speak for all of us. But
Well, I
I have the
hard
full
copy.
PDF.
The full application materials were provided to the committee and are available online as well. So those can be accessed via individual devices. But if you want to provide something for presentation for,
I just want to make sure that
providing
there-
clarity.
I have a hard copy, so if someone has a particular question, I'll.
Anybody want to pull them up? Or are we good?
We have a hard drive in hand.
It may
It's
it may
very
be
easy.
helpful just if we need it for discussion.
If you're just, at least the plan views.
Sure.
may be
Yeah. If your
helpful.
question was whether or not we had seen it, what we're looking at up
Yeah.
here is not the only thing we've seen, but might be helpful.
Yeah, I'm open. I don't know what I would.
I guess you can scroll to.
There we go. That's it.
And I guess I'll leave it on this. So you can zoom and turn the pages if you need to.
Yeah, I just again wanted to have the floor plans. I think we feel like we have a lot of the documentation that was asked for. We wanted to maybe we were ready to dive into questions. I think you've had a time since we got a little bit of bump in the time, may have had adequate time to look at what we had submitted.
All right, thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak in support of the application? Any members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to the case? Any members of the public with questions or who wish to make comments on the application? Hearing none, I'll open the floor to my fellow commissioners for questions.
Yeah, just trying to understand, and I think the connection to the East Edition is very clear, and thanks for the supplementary information. I know you've already done this. We don't always see projects of this scale, so there's a lot of work that's happening. Explain the program that's being added to the north of the building.
The north addition on the main level will be an extension of the stage, so there's some add dressing room space that they don't currently have. And below that will be the mechanical space. We are adding sprinklers, a new air conditioning system, quite a bit of services to the property. So there are actually two mechanical spaces. One that serves Pittman directly, that's under the north addition. The other mechanical space is in the east addition basement.
And that new north addition is at a lower.
It's lower.
Okay.
And in fact, it's really meant to basically just disappear if
Okay.
possible. We provided the visual breaks with some spandrel glass that separate it visually from the existing building. We are going to continue the eave line around and to match the existing building, but we're trying to keep those details minimized and not draw your attention to that building. One of our primary goals for the whole project is not to take away from Pittman itself.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. No other questions.
Jordan?
No questions.
John?
Can you tell me a little bit more about the curtain wall lobby design? Because I'm seeing the plan and I'm seeing the roof plan, and I see the pitch, and I'm assuming the pitch is a metal roof or something?
There's what we call the event lobby is the glazing on each end
Yeah.
to keep it open.
Is it
The
glazed
roof-
all the way, is it completely glazed on the outside face, or is there a solid the glass goes all the way to the parapet?
No, there's actually going to be a band of probably a composite metal or something to hide the structure
Okay.
and conceal
But you'll have
downspouts.
spandrel glass behind that, behind
Yes,
the
yeah.
structure?
And so, to answer your question, it's got a flat roof,
Uh-huh.
but there is a small pyramidal shaped vault that runs through it.
Okay.
What we're trying to do is abstractly maintain the pedestrian path that passes through this area. This is highly traveled by the students to get to the library and to the dining hall. So we're trying to keep that open. Also, that is going to be a primary space for when they actually have performances, which is leading us to the replacement of the existing stair, and also modifying the one opening so that we can get better access into the auditorium. Again, like Julie said, not to have to put ramps around which nobody at the right moment would want. So it's going to have multiple functions, and we're kind of stuck in a challenging design space, no pun intended.
I was really just asking about the exterior.
It's glazing. The idea is for you to almost not see it if you can, as minimally enclosed as possible.
Yeah, but clear glass.
It'll be tinted of some kind, but it's going to be. It won't be like.
Those been
It's not going to be mirror. It's not going to be mirrored or anything.
mirrored in black or.
What we would like to do, if the budget will allow, is to use some bird deterrent glazing on it.
I'm sorry.
Bird deterrent, where it's etched to keep.
Yes.
Partly because the site's heavily wooded and there's fly-through, and partly because I'm a bird lover.
Gotcha.
But that's a budget thing. I mean, it's not cheap, but that's the plan. It will not be tinted or mirrored.
Is it a consistent all the way from what's on the lobby level to the parapet, and it's all a flat plane, or does that change per?
No, it's a flat plane.
Okay.
And we would like it to be forward glazed with very minimal mullion caps, if the budget allows.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Hearing none, I'll close the evidentiary hearing and move to committee discussion.
You're both looking at me.
We expect comments from John, but I mean, I feel like it's pretty compatible.
Straightforward, and you let's just say this: the important, having worked on more historic structures than you care, and having done the Clayton Center in Clayton, North Carolina, I get what you're doing, because I had the same issue between the government center and the auditorium. And in that rule, we always said, just don't screw it up, or don't overdo it, and just keep it as simple.
I
as you
endeavor
possibly
for
can.
that every day.
John, pull the mic in.
Oh, sorry. And so I think that you have met those challenges in terms of just letting the history stand proud, and you've let the box be what it is.
That is the goal.
Yeah.
Just for the commission, I was asking the question about the north facade because there are, there's some existing openings that are proposed to be removed and infilled, and
Well, and that's another, I may have a question for you on that front,
Okay.
which because,
would we want to recommend that they just, make the opening that they need to make, but also cover up so they're preserving some of
are you able to, from a fire standpoint, able to keep how are you dealing with the fire code relationship between the lobby and the existing building that you're attaching to? Because are you taking those windows out, or is it open into the lobby? How is it?
Just for record keeping, and we're reopening the evidentiary
sorry.
hearing. No, you're fine.
My bad.
You can proceed.
Rob brought that up and we're gone.
Well, we are adding a full sprinkler system to the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That allows you to do that.
this is-
So is the facade on the interior in part of the lobby?
Yes, the east side of the existing auditorium will be the west side.
Of
Of
the
the
of the
new-
lobby?
of the
That's what I
lobby.
assumed.
Yes. And
Okay.
To answer your question, and I do want to.
Question, Ron?
So in the lobby, you're preserving. You'll see the facade.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
In fact, we're actually going to replace one of the windows with the door that's for the ADA access that we're trying to create, with a door and frame system that emulates what's there. The stair that's going to be taken down is not currently wide enough,
Yep.
even by normal code.
Yeah.
So we're replacing that with a stair that's going to be detailed and in a very similar fashion to the existing. Our intent, obviously, we don't want to be exact because that's false historicism, but we're going to be referential.
Yeah, got it. And then, and just since it is back open, right, Wes? Okay. I was just making sure the evidentiary hearing was reopened so I could ask you questions. So it will be one building once you add the sprinkler system. Is that
It will
correct?
be functionally as a single building, yes.
Okay.
with-
I know that's not part of our purview, but it helps me get my head around what you're doing. And then I guess the follow-up question is if I'm just looking at HC07, which is that north elevate, it's like a north section elevation. It's the existing.
HC07, that's the
Yeah.
existing, and that shows, actually, the dash windows that you see there are the areas where we're going to have to open up to make passage to our new addition. And that entire lower level, it'll be covered in a new building. So there's no historical opening to preserve, really, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then what is the mullion, on the colors that you're using for the mullions and stuff? I think that, have you submitted that to staff in terms of the mullion choice and profile and stuff for the lobby?
For the new glazing?
Yeah.
It's going to be clear anodized was the general intent.
Okay.
Clear anodized aluminum.
Has it been submitted to staff as part of it?
No, but we can certainly
Okay,
send them
yeah.
a piece of aluminum if they would like it.
Well, I was looking more for the profile, if there was a special profile.
No,
It's not.
flat.
It's just a standard
It's very
storefront.
flat. We're trying to
I understand that.
whisper through that part of the
Yeah,
building.
I understand. I get that. But it's not a color. It's not a colored. It's a standard thing. Okay. Thank you.
Not on my watch.
Yeah.
So maybe this was part of Rob's question, but in the dressing room backstage, like the northern addition, will you be able to appreciate the openings that were there
I'm sorry.
from there as well? I mean,
Maybe if we
There
look
were
at
not-
HC03, the plan, I think might be helpful. I'm sorry to run you around.
Hey, well,
Yeah, I thought he was saying there's no windows there to.
no, they're actually, no, I can't remember if there's actually windows in that space or if they were already filled in. Are they filled in, Eric?
They're filled in.
Yeah, so those existing windows are already blocked up.
okay.
So we don't have a precedent for what they look like.
Okay. So, and I'm sorry to beat a dead horse, but are any, it sounds like you're removing one window to become,
The window, where it notes the windows being replaced in the auditorium. That is a slight misinterpretation by the staff, I'm sorry to say. It was noted on the elevations as typical. We are replacing the glazing in all of the windows in the auditorium with new vacuum insulated glazing.
In the existing mullions.
Oh, in existing
Yeah,
mullions.
we're reinstalling
Okay,
glazing.
that was the part I missed.
We're installing
Okay.
vacuum insulated glazing in the existing frames and mullions.
Gotcha.
So we'll not be taking anything out, just the glass and putting it
okay.
back.
Gotcha.
In fact, a lot of it's not glass, it's plexiglass.
It's actually
That was
plexiglass
replaced
right now.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Oh, no, that's what I'm here for. That's why I got dressed up this morning.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
No.
Well, close the evidentiary hearing again, and we'll resume committee discussion.
I think the goal with these kinds of additions is that you need to be as innocuous as possible and do not offend. And I think they have done that with great sensitivity while trying to maintain the HSW aspects of the project.
Yeah. What do you think, John, about the clear anodized finish to the caps? That seems a little bit a bit of a deviation if I look at the existing photos. I mean, maybe it, and
And again, I
sounds like
would like to have seen some kind of evidence that, because I can't believe that this is the only storefront on the entire campus.
Oh, no, there's a couple of bad examples on it.
But in terms of, because this is a break with the history of it and that it is as minimal as possible, over time, painted, anodized storefront fades and looks like crap after a while. And so I've always gone.
well, that's two different finishes, though. Painted and anodized are different.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But I'm just what I'm getting at is the glass will ultimately be relatively dark, and if the goal is to make it sort of go away, the energy code's going to require it to be relatively dark inside baseball, and so it's
Well, if they
so
do a frit, it depends on the frit pattern, which is
Okay.
something I think they're going to have to kind
Sure.
of discuss.
I just question whether or not clear anodized will go away or be. It's a bright metal, so it'll.
Agreed. I think my aspect of it is that it's as light of a touch as you could possibly
Sure.
get to that building as you can do, I think.
Okay, I mean I can agree with that.
I agree.
Without mullion-less glass. I know.
Yeah,
I get it.
I don't know. Would black be more unobtrusive? You know, there are not a lot of.
Or like a bronze maybe, but I mean there's also they could do like an SSG where the mullion cap is only really on the interior. I mean I guess we could also just say it needs to be the final details need
That's
to
what
be
I think,
submitted
is
to
that
the staff
we need to
for.
submit that, just because I do think that needs to be submitted in terms of, and some thought put to that, because it can't, knowing that they haven't chosen the glass yet, with the frit pattern and all that other stuff, that impacts, I think, the choices you're going to make with the mullion. I would hope it would. And so I think it needs to be kind of thought about relative to the palette, but I don't think it's a deal killer from the aspect of the concept of it, but I do think it needs to be just resubmitted.
Be submitted to the.
Staff.
Yeah. Okay. Is that a motion?
Yes, I think we can do that. Based on the information in this hearing and the presentation as well as information by staff, I move that we approve this application with the following conditions. We didn't discuss the metal roof.
You can withdraw your motion.
I'm going to withdraw my motion for a second.
Resume committee discussion.
Yeah. We didn't discuss this. The metal roof must have flat pans with no ripples or striations.
You're talking. Oh, it's like a.
Are you
Oh, lock and seam.
It's a standing seam.
We'll reopen the evidentiary hearing of the committee meeting.
Sorry. We'll get through this sooner or later. Okay, I'd like to close.
You can ask a question now.
Yeah, thank you. What's the metal roof like? It's standard metal standing seam.
It would be a standing seam, but we have not picked a color for it, but optimally it would be some kind of metal. What we would like to do, if we can find the right paint, which I guess we can, is to match some of the metal roofing that's on Pittman currently.
Is it a folded seam or is it a standing seam on the
Well,
roof?
we have it called as a folded standing seam. Is what we
Okay.
have detailed at the moment.
Okay, that's
But-
what's existing. That's what's existing on
Oh,
the,
existing? No, I don't think so. I think it's the folded.
Slate.
It's got
Slate.
slate and it's some folded metal on it too.
But you can't see the standing.
okay.
Yeah, that's all up on the upper part of the roof.
Okay, yeah, you're not going to see it at all.
And almost all of the metal roof that we have on this the way the pitches are set up and the sight lines, you can't see it either.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to see it at all, because it doesn't go to the edge. Right,
It's
okay. I'm good.
partly driven by economics. We
Yeah,
were
no,
told
I
that
get it.
The
I get that,
membranes
yeah.
were too expensive, so we looked into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any additional questions from the committee?
Okay.
I'll close
Now I can redo my motion.
Close the evidentiary hearing.
Continue with my motion.
Why don't you just restate it?
If so. Based on the information in this hearing, as well as the report prepared by staff, and I move that we approve this application with the following conditions. That the metal roof have flat pans with no ripples or striations. That the following be provided to and provided by, provided to and approved by staff to issuance of the blue placard. Elevations and facade details for the east facade of the proposed east addition, which I think we now have because you brought that today.
Yeah, you should have, oh,
Yeah.
yes, you have the east addition of elevations, do you not?
Yes,
Yes. And that the following be, following be provided to and approved by staff prior to installation or construction. That the roof specifications and color, membrane, architectural shingles, standing seam, and the window and door specifications, including section details. And C, I'm adding one, would be the architectural glass and storefront material and section details for the lobby.
Motion has been made to approve the application with subject to conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Prior to a
Whoop.
vote, I'm sorry. Since you have received material today, it would seem redundant to include a condition tied to the placard
think we
in the
can,
motion if it's already been resolved.
I think we can withdraw 2A.
Yeah, withdraw 2A, please. We will keep 1 and 3.
So there's an amendment to the motion that has been made withdrawing a potential condition 2A. So we're proceeding on, the motion would contain potential condition 1 and 3 with John's addition, C. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for the work that you've put into this application. The decision will be official at next month's meeting once the minutes are approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Curtis, feel free to join us as we back up at the dais as we finish the meeting.
You have to vote me back in?
I don't think so. Is there any committee discussion before we adjourn?
I've got something.
All right.
Given the recent information we got from Raz on case law, I'm wondering if we can ask
Which is what?
the lack of validity of the nearby well-related buildings language in the guidelines. I'm wondering if we can ask our colleagues on research to update the special character essays to talk more clearly about the built environment and if there are areas within districts that are different in character than other areas. And I'm asking this, that language went into the guidelines. I'm going to steal that from you. That language went into the guidelines to deal with Oakwood and the fact that there are zones of Oakwood like Blunt Street and Jones Street where the built character is completely different than other sections. We have the same problem on Oberlin, with Oberlin Road being different than the whole rest of the district. And I believe Glenwood Brooklyn has some of that, too.
Let me just add this
Yeah.
to that. There was a case decided in Beaufort.
Yep.
The town of Beaufort had a requirement that in the historic district, the buildings that had frontage along the main Taylor's Creek frontage area had a height limitation. And it was just a standalone
Yep.
condition. I mean, a standard, they may have framed it as a guideline, but it was one of these things that just was almost like a rule.
Uh-huh.
And it was heard by the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals said, wait a minute, the legal standard is congruity with the special character of the district. And if you focus too narrowly on some sort of standalone rule
Yeah.
that is really a very different thing than the legal standard, which is congruity overall with the special character of the district, that's a flaw. Now, those part of our guidelines, portions of the guidelines that talk about a more finely tuned standard for setbacks and heights and the well-related nearby business is sort of like, the principle is sort of like what was addressed in Beaufort.
Yeah.
But it's a little different as well. And so we made the point that just make sure you keep focused on the overall issue and don't get too hung up on this,
Yeah.
just the nearby well-related structures.
Well, and I would think the special character essay would help staff point to something too, as a fact. Otherwise, we have to get somebody to come in here and testify to give us a fact that the property in question is in a different world, you know, than the rest of the district. And I'm asking this partially because of what we're seeing going on in those districts, and partially out of pure self-interest, which is there's so many non-contributing structures in Oakwood, and the property values have gotten so high that I'm expecting to see a wave of teardowns starting to hit Oakwood, including the building right next door to my house, which is probably, it's a church, and its lot's probably worth $3 million now. So it's going to be 6 houses. So that's the subtext partially, but partially I think it gives us a better tool to work with, too. Because I think the special character essay of Oberlin, for instance, really doesn't even talk about the built environment significantly. It just talks about the history of it.
Would you give it borders? Would you give those areas borders?
Potentially. I don't know if they could be hard borders, but I certainly would say, it's pretty easy to say that, like, Jones west of Elm is the larger, fancier homes.
Right.
Person is the larger, fancier homes. We can also point out in the portion of Oakwood that is south of Oakwood Avenue that the corner homes break the built pattern of the rest of the surrounding neighborhood where they're larger.
That's right.
But north of it, they don't.
Right, oh, interesting, yeah.
So there are some really interesting, odd little peculiarities there. And
It does give you more ammunition in terms of what defines the character of the overall.
yeah. Whereas if we have to go on sort of what is the general thing, we could easily be pushing 2 and 2.5 story buildings into 1-story predominant areas, like we were kind of looking at potentially in Oberlin. That's my thought and my rationale.
Yeah.
Now, if it's really pointless, then, I mean, we can also have staff testify about built pattern, but it's not, I don't think it's as helpful necessarily if it.
I just wonder if it seems like a little bit of a slippery slope,
Yeah.
especially since even like the local architects that present and put the applications together don't really create a case based on that supporting them already. It's sort of just like,
Yeah.
it's like picking features.
Yeah, matchy-matchy.
And not really about built environment. It's about features within that district.
The pre-Tanya, Dan Becker used to refer to that as Mr. Potato Head architecture. I mean, I'm actually, Colette's been wanting to speak, so I'm looking in her direction.
It's a good conversation.
Would that be helpful to you?
So we definitely agree that there's room for some updating and elaborating in the special character essays. This is something that you should bring up at the business meeting. In probably the report of committees section would be great, so that the full commission as a whole can decide to delegate that to the research committee if that's something that
Okay.
they choose to do.
Curtis, I think it'd be a great idea for you to present that.
Happy to.
Exactly what you've just said
Yeah.
at the next business meeting during the COA committee report.
Next business meeting is on what date?
It's a Tuesday.
The second Tuesday of the month, right? Is that when?
It is the 21st.
Oh, the third Tuesday of the month. Third Tuesday of the month. That's right. Okay.
I believe I will be absent.
Ugh.
It's a meeting I'm supposed to be at up in Virginia, and they picked like the 2 days that were options were COA or business committee meeting, and they were like the only days I had conflict the entire month.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, you can present it in March. You could do it a lot better than I just did.
I
or
just
that
think-
that I wouldn't be able to do.
I'm concerned that we need to get them moving. I'm happy to type up something to help, if that helps.
Let me make sure can be at the Tuesday. Or
I think I can communicate what you're.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm more than happy to
Yeah.
chime in.
Do
on
it.
Yes.
Then if I'm not there, do it. Otherwise, if I am there,
Yeah,
do it.
your notes, it's easy.
I'm not nailed down on that meeting yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen.
Well, I think because if you write it out in terms of, and use the examples you gave this evening about those things about Oakwood and stuff, I think it becomes very clear in terms of what the intent is.
That's the goal.
And I think it helps. I think it gets us closer to zero.
Curtis, you said, you started that by saying new information from the city attorney. Was that something that was circulated, or was that our conversation?
Those are conversations
in the
in these
last-
meetings.
Like in December?
Yeah, the
and-
case law, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any further committee discussion? Anything from staff?
You're gone.
I was gone.
Just good job tonight. I think there was a lot of good discussion, a lot of participation from the public, handling the committee opening or the hearing opening, reopening, all
Thanks,
of it.
Sean.
You guys
And
are
Rob.
turning into old pros.
Right.
Do usually when you,
Did she call
when
us
you
old?
do close public hearing, do the speakers take their seat? Because I think if they're there at the podium, I mean, it's
They think.
awkward, you may
Yeah.
sit down now, I'm not sure how you handle it, but I just, for some reason, obviously, if they're there at the podium, mic in
They're-
hand.
they're more
it's
prone
sort
to
of-
respond.
It's conducive to
Yeah.
having a dialogue.
So maybe moving forward after a close, I can say,
Spontaneous.
you can take a seat, and we can call them up again if need be. Yeah, so. All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.